What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go over here this week. Before I get into the news, I first want to mention I'll be doing my usual weekly live stream on Sunday night, getting back to Sundays here for 9 p.m. Eastern live stream here. It's just going to be hanging out, talking cars with all of you like we always do. If you can join, definitely join in. It's always a good time. But anyway, moving on to the news here this week. First, Ford has revealed the 60th anniversary Mustang this week that surprisingly has a couple retro cues here. So as you can probably tell, it's just an appearance package and it's only for the GT versions, but it consists of unique wheels and aluminum center caps, graphics, badges, a grille that doesn't look different, but according to Ford is a modern take on the original mesh grille. So very subtle changes there, I guess. In addition to race red and vapor blue, it's also available here in the Wimbledon white color, which they're bringing back. It's a very rare color that's just been on previous special edition Mustangs in the past. And inside there's a badge showing which number you got out of the 1,965 of these that they're making. 1965, of course. There's no pricing for these yet, but one thing that's actually free here is another retro Mustang touch that debuted on this car, but will be available to all 2024 and newer Mustang owners, and that's a new retro design for the digital gauges. Surprisingly, it's not the original 1965 Mustang gauges like some outlets are reporting who just don't know their Mustangs, but Ford saying that they evaluated hundreds of individual Mustang gauge clusters spanning multiple iconic years to create this new heritage gauge cluster. Which is weird saying hundreds. There's definitely not hundreds of gauge clusters, I don't think. I mean, I guess Ford would know, but I don't think there's hundreds. Anyway, they decided to go for the 67 to 68 gauges as the ones to pay homage to here. And it's also interesting that while these debuted on the 1967 cars, both the odometer and the temperature are showing 68. Which makes me think that maybe they're teasing a new Bullet, which, you know, was a 68, and the movie came out in 68 and all that. Because otherwise I'm not sure why they would do 68 instead of 67 for that. So we'll see. I mean, I'm still skeptical about them doing a new Bullet, so this isn't just like wishful thinking on my part. It's just an odd thing that I noticed that no one else really has pointed out. But anyway, you know, if they were to do a new Bullet, they would probably wait for the next anniversary, which would be 2028 anyway. So it would be a ways off if they're sticking to usual timing. But anyway, I guess we'll see about that. But I wish they also would have done the whole gauge cluster for this retro gauge pack, because you can see that the fuel and the coolant are still the regular 2024 Mustang, you know, fonts and style there. So it seems a little half-baked to me, to be totally honest, but it's still cool nonetheless. I'm still jealous. I was hoping for those kind of gauges in the 2019, and instead we got off-the-shelf, you know, gauges there for the 2019s. But you know, it's cool. Like I said, I'm jealous. I wish I had these in the Bullet. But anyway, you know, nice to see a little bit of a retro take here for the S650s, considering, you know, I had assumed they would be throwing out the retro stuff with, you know, Dark Horse replacing Mach 1 and things like that. But clearly not the case. But anyway, so cool that that's also a free update there, and they're making that available to the older ones as well for the 2024 and newer. But anyway, yeah, still really cool. Moving on here, Maserati this week has revealed the Folgore version of the GranCabrio that debuted back in February for the gas version. And I think it may be the first electric convertible in the States, and even globally, it's the first regular production convertible EV, I think, outside of a couple others in Europe, like the convertible Smart Car 500e and MG Cyberster. Anyway, though, if you're already familiar with the GranCabrio and the Folgore versions of the Gran Turismo, there's no surprises here, but for those unfamiliar, it means a cloth soft top that can go down in 14 seconds and go up in 16 when you're under 31 miles per hour, which actually might be tough to do with this much power, with this thing getting a dual motor setup that does 751 horsepower and 996 pound-feet of torque for a very fast 2.7 second burst to 60, with the only real sound being the wind blowing your hair. Speaking of fast wind in your hair, it'll hit 180 miles per hour as well. It runs an 83 kilowatt hour usable battery, and when your hair needs a break, it'll do an impressive 270 kilowatt fast charging for a 20% to 80% charge in just 18 minutes. And on the easier WLTP test cycle in Europe, it's rated at 278 miles of range. Ordering opens in August, with deliveries beginning in the last quarter of this year, and there's no pricing yet, but it'll likely be more expensive than the hardtop Folgore's $210,000 starting price. So you know, I'd say probably, you know, 220 or something, but anyway, cool to see that. Ram is teasing what is likely the RHO version of the Ram 1500 that they've mentioned in the past, and that CEO Tim Kuniskis actually already said we'll just be getting, you know, TRX hardware just with a Hurricane motor instead. is essentially, going to be the consensus here. So no big surprises. The only biggest mystery remaining here about this is whether they're going to bump the Hurricane motor to more power than, 540 horsepower and 521 pound-feet of torque you get in the regular top Ram. So we'll just have to see. And the full reveal is happening on April 25th. So stay tuned for coverage of that here next week. Kia has teased the Tasman name this week globally, but it hasn't been confirmed for the US, and past reports have suggested it'll be for just other markets around the world, so don't get too excited about a Kia pickup truck here just yet. The excuse has always been about the chicken tax and stuff, but Hyundai does have the Santa Cruz, and that's produced in North America here, and also, it's pretty rare. Usually most Hyundai vehicles have a Kia counterpart, and we haven't seen that for, Santa Cruz. So, this could finally be that, or it could be something different. We'll have to see. And GMC has teased the 2025 refresh for the Yukon this week, showing off the new front end of the AT4 version in particular. And you can see there's new headlights, grille, bumper, are all going to be tweaked. And they say it'll debut later in 2024 here, sometime after the Acadia launch that's happening this spring. And they also revealed that the Yukon will spearhead the rollout of the GMC brand to Australia, New Zealand, and China as well. So if you're in one of those countries and you have wanted a GMC, you'll be able to have the Yukon here relatively soon, although I can't imagine how expensive that's going to be in those places. But anyway, interesting to see that. BMW has shown off some images here of the next-gen X3 in camo, and it looks like BMW is playing it safe with this one. Instead of using the new Class X styling we recently saw, although it's hard to tell exactly how big that grille will be, but BMW says that the new X3 will have a wider track, quicker steering, adaptive dampers, and a more rigid chassis, along with offering an expanded selection of systems for automated driving and parking compared to the current version. It'll continue to offer similar powertrains most likely, with gas and plug-in hybrid options. It's possible the iX3 will branch off to its own thing that looks more like the new Class X. That's, something that has been floated, but, I think that they'll probably try and stick to their successful formula so far of just keeping the electric stuff looking like the gas stuff, just with blocked off grills, basically. That's worked really well for them. And it's been noted that so far this year, BMW EV sales have actually been growing and doing really well. And that's a stark contrast from the rest of the industry, and especially like rival, Mercedes, who has really been struggling. This is notable. So I feel like they might not want to mess with success and just, put the electric stuff into this if it, works. And just do that. But that leaves us with a question mark about what's the point of the new Class X, where does that fit in? So we'll have to see. But anyway, for the 2025 X3, they say it's going to debut here in the next few weeks and should be on sale before the end of the year. So stay tuned for that. Audi has also teased the refreshed E-Tron GT that will be following along with the same kind of updates that the Porsche Taycan just got recently, including the bigger battery, stronger motors, and even a version of the very fancy Porsche suspension, although here in the Audi, it'll be called the curve tilting function, and instead of increasing performance, it's supposed to make comfort mode even smoother, along with lifting a side of the vehicle to help someone get in or out of the car easier, which is cool because it is a very low car. Even with the camo wrap, we can see that it'll also get new bumpers and lights, and that's probably about it for the exterior changes. Probably pretty mild, just like the Taycan's changes. And I'd say we could probably expect an infotainment upgrade inside as well, with some of the newest electric Audis, getting the bigger screens. So we'll see, but a full reveal should be happening relatively soon. There's no release date given for that just yet. And here's something that I haven't seen before in the car world. There's an interesting development here this past week. So just last week, I talked about the Alfa Romeo Milano, which had just debuted as this new subcompact SUV for Alfa Romeo. It's a cool little thing that sadly we're not getting here in the States, but, was, a cool little thing in my opinion. But apparently the Italian government didn't like the name because the car will be built in Poland. And they claim that the Italian government claims it's illegal due to an Italian law that prevents products with Italian names from going on products that aren't made in Italy. So Alfa complied and just in the course of a week here changed the name of the car, now giving it the name of Junior, which does have historical Alfa roots. I actually was kind of unaware. I'd forgotten about the Junior name on old Alfas, but I think it sounds a lot less cool than Milano, but they're complying here. But it's funny because they didn't go down quietly, though, firing back at the Italian government by saying, despite Alfa Romeo believing that the name met all legal requirements and that there are issues much more important than the name of a car, Alfa Romeo has decided to change it from Milano to Alfa Romeo Junior in the spirit of promoting mutual understanding. So, I mean, man, like saying like there's bigger things to worry about right now than the name on the back of our car, which is kind of funny that they were that blunt. Like whoever's in the Italian PR division of Alfa Romeo is, going for the throat here, and I'm here for it. It's funny, but they even went so far as to thank the government for the free publicity brought on by this debate. So like they are really like going at it. It's great. So I want to see more of this. I want to see more savage PR responses. That is great. So that was really fun, really fun to read about this week. But seeing a government force a name change on a car is a first, I think, and having a PR brand be this snarky, I think, is a first as well, outside of like planned marketing stuff like, the various, more aggressive marketing campaigns we've seen from brands in the past. But as far as responses from PR, this is great. So I'd like to buy a beer or I guess a wine for whoever in Italy is firing back with these responses. It's pretty great. Another interesting potential change here of plans at Stellantis. The new CEO of Jeep revealed to Automotive News here recently that they're considering adding gas options to the Wagoneer S and the Recon that are both coming, in electric form here at some point before the end of this year. And so this is, of course, possible thanks to what they've always had as a contingency plan here with the STLA platforms, that they all are flexible enough to accommodate gas engines if needed. And this is how we have, gas and electric versions of the Charger on the same platform. And we're going to be seeing that with a bunch of stuff here. And so the CEO added that regarding gas options, we need to grab them or somebody else will. And if you read in between the lines here and you hear all the news about, companies scaling back EVs and, going over to plug-in hybrids and delaying their switchovers to electric and stuff like that, I'm willing to bet that they're more than just considering this for these vehicles, especially the Wagoneer S, because, you have this lineup from Jeep that's been kind of gutted recently with they got rid of the Renegade, they got rid of the Cherokee, and this Wagoneer S is supposed to, I guess, kind of maybe fill in, but it's going to be so much more expensive, especially for an electric version. Gas could bring down that pricing and also help fill out what is now a little bit of a smaller lineup as a result. The Recon though is a little bit more, I don't know why they're thinking that this would be a good idea. I mean, I guess I don't have the numbers, but being an armchair product planner over here, you would think people that want a gas Recon are just going to get a Wrangler, since the Recon was kind of supposed to be an electric Wrangler anyway in a lot of ways. So I don't know, we'll see how they actually take the final form for the Recon and the Wagoneer S, since we're still just seeing mostly concepts of that stuff so far. But anyway, very interesting to hear that, and I think definitely, at least as far as Wagoneer S goes, that's a great idea. And the Chinese market version of the Cadillac Optiq got its debut this week online ahead of the Beijing Auto Show next week. And while the back end is still a mystery, we don't have any pictures of that, I don't think, we do get to see the interior for the first time here, after only seeing the front end in the first teaser last year. It gets, that big 33-inch display that we've seen from the Lyriq and other Cadillacs. And there's also a floating center console area and what appears to be a pretty plush interior for a small little vehicle, because it's going to be based on the same platform as the Equinox EV and the coming Electra from Buick. And compared to the Equinox EV, it's very close in size, other than being about an inch taller, so a little bit more spacious, but pretty compact. And it should come to the US later this year, according to Cadillac, as a 2025 model. So stay tuned for that. Another interior related update here is that Tesla has debuted a no-cost seat option for the Model S Plaid, and it's a sportier seat here that has it's covered in high-performance suede to hold Plaid drivers in a little bit better there. But thankfully, the seat doesn't give up any of the creature comforts, with it still having heating and cooling functions along with all the same adjustments. And Tesla says they've been installing the seats actually since the beginning of April, so any new Plaids that have been built in the past couple of weeks here already have them as standard, and I think they're just going to put them in all the Plaids unless someone specifically orders one without it. And so, yeah, seems like a nice upgrade there, assuming they're, still comfortable to sit in. But anyway, interesting to see that. There's also a very interesting report here from CarBuzz this week, claiming that the next generation Toyota Highlander is going electric, and that the Lexus is going to be getting a version of this called the TZ, which CarBuzz actually spotted a trademark for last year. And so the Grand Highlander will continue with its gas engine, so supposedly, which actually makes a lot of sense now, because actually in the live stream, people were asking, where does the Highlander fit in now with Grand Highlander? And the Toyota answer has been that Highlander starts at a cheaper price. Not everyone needs as much space as Grand Highlander, so there was still a niche there for Highlander. And while I agree with that, this kind of makes sense now. If especially if they make lower, trim versions of the Grand Highlander to bring that price down and, fill in where Highlander's leaving off, or, roughly, maybe a couple grand more, but, around that same price point, then, this would be great, because then you have everyone wanting the massive thing just goes for the Grand Highlander, and then that frees up Highlander to be something different, and making it electric, it actually is a really good solution, I think, and something you could see potentially in the future. We're seeing how there's, Land Cruiser and 4Runner and, Sequoia and all these, overlapping things, and maybe that's going to be the long-term future. Obviously, we just saw these brand new versions with gas engines, but maybe long-term we see, some of those get cherry-picked to be the electric versions and other ones be gas or something. We'll have to see. But anyway, pretty interesting there. And there's no release date given for when we can expect this electric Highlander, but the current Highlander is going on 5 years old at this point, and while old age hasn't stopped Toyota from selling vehicles far longer than most people would have expected, usually with the passenger segment stuff that's more competitive, they are more likely to stick to the usual 4 or 5 year schedule for new generations and stuff, maybe a little bit more. So I mean, the Highlander's going on 5 years old here, so I think we could see something relatively soon. I think the next thing to do for replacement, though, as far as Toyota vehicles, is going to be the RAV4, which is their number one seller. They're not going to let that one get too old, I don't think. So my guess, just me again assuming, just based on the normal product cadence, you'll see RAV4 next, most likely, and then after that, maybe this new Highlander could be up sometime either this year, next year, the year after, I don't know, something like that. But also, the BZ stuff is going to continue as well, with a compact electric crossover and sedan both coming in 2026, which we've been hearing rumblings of that in the past. But supposedly they may not continue using the BZ naming strategy. They're currently reconsidering that, because during an interview that Carbuzz did with the U.S. General Manager of Toyota, he also confirmed that we're going to expand plug-in hybrid availability throughout the lineup fairly quickly, which I'm glad they're doing, because I said back when RAV4 Prime came out, I'm like, Prime all the things, get the Prime thing, it'd be amazing, because it's really wonderful. Now, obviously, they didn't do that, and for good reason, because they are not even able to keep up with Prime demand. Over the past 4 years, it's still hard to get a RAV4 Prime, which is just crazy to me, but, at least that is something that they're hopefully going to be improving that supply, if they're planning on actually making everything plug-in hybrid really quickly. And interesting, though, according to Carbuzz's other Toyota sources, so not official Toyota comments here, but Carbuzz is claiming that their other sources say the next plug-in hybrids will be Sequoia, Tundra, and Tacoma, which is really surprising, because first, there's no existing plug-in hybrid setup for those, so it would be a brand new powertrain combo, which isn't out of the realm of possibility, but just if they want to do this fairly quickly, introducing a brand new thing is probably, unless it's something, again, they've been planning a long time, just seems unlikely. And also, I really doubt how many people that are buying, Sequoias, Tundras, and Tacomas want a plug-in hybrid. That seems like a really small amount compared to, plug-in hybrid versions of everything else in the lineup, basically, which probably would have a higher take rate for plug-in hybrids than Sequoia, Tundra, and Tacoma. So, and also it'd be quicker and easier. If I were the one betting on what's going to happen, if they are going to actually follow what they're saying and plug-in hybrid all this stuff really fast, I'd say copy and paste RAV4 Prime and Prius Prime powertrains really quickly, and use those in Camry, Corolla, Corolla Cross, Crown, Crown Signia, Grand Highlander. All of those, have variants, or you can, put the stuff in the Grand Highlander. You can even use the TX, which has a plug-in hybrid version, or use the RAV4 Prime one if you want less power. But, all those, you could just literally bolt that stuff right in, I'm assuming. I don't think there's going to be any giant hurdles with any of those, and you have existing technology. Now, there was mention of Toyota, they're going to have higher range plug-in hybrids coming, but that could come down the road. If they want to do this really quick, like in the next year or two, I think, again, just copy and pasting is fine. I think 42 miles of range is still excellent, like you see in, RAV4 Prime and Prius Prime and all that. So, I mean, even if some of these are slightly less or slightly more, I mean, around that figure is going to be great, covers most people's commutes in America, as far as the numbers go, at least. And so I think that's, if I'm, hearing that they want to do that stuff really fast, I would say use existing stuff, copy and paste, and that's how you do that fast, instead of a brand new setup and all that. So, I don't know, but I mean, they have their sources, and their sources think it's going to be the trucks. we will have to wait and see. But anyway, interesting to hear that, and I guess we'll, get some kind of official word here sometime the next year or two, or maybe sooner, who knows. For the last news story here, though, this week, also about Toyota, USA Today spotted a U.S. patent submitted by Toyota last month. It's actually really cool. So the idea here is that all Toyotas could be painted a single color at the factory that has a unique color changing material in it. And so once the car arrives at the dealer, they could change the color to whatever they like by heating and then lighting the material at a special wavelength to produce the desired color. And then the car would have a sensor that knows when it's reached the correct color, kind of like, I guess, like a tire pressure monitoring thing where it, waits for the levels to come up, and then once it hits the factory approved coloring, then it would stop or tell you to stop or whatever. So that's interesting. It's a really cool idea. One, I mean, it's a great cost saving thing if you have one paint color and then you let dealers do whatever. It also frees up dealers. I'm not sure. I'm assuming you could also change this after the fact. It's not a one-time thing, because it'd be great for dealers to just have blank cars and be like, all right, pick a color out of the catalog, and we'll have the color change in an hour or something, or however long it takes. And then you have the perfect inventory. You always have, and I think this actually is brilliant because this could bring back color for vehicles, because dealers are always scared of ordering colors, and so customers are also not going to wait around for a custom order, so they just go to the dealer and say, oh, you have silver, okay, I'll take silver. The blue looked nice, but I'll do silver because that's what you have. Now there would be none of that. So I think it actually could be the most promising sign that finally car color could come back, because I think a lot of people would go for colors, and if the color is available readily there and it's not an upcharge, then dealers don't have any of that risk. Customers get exactly the color they want, and I think you would see more and more coloring in the lineup. And also, I mean, I'm not sure how much flexibility Toyota would do if they would still have an improved color palette, which it sounds like by the language of this they would. But if they wanted to loosen the reins on that kind of stuff and have any color of the rainbow, or maybe for an upcharge have any color of the rainbow or something, then you could basically put the vinyl wrap business out of business, aside from, custom stuff and, really, crazy things. But this could be huge. Now, again, it's just a patent. Cool patents come out all the time and never see the light of day. So maybe there's practical things that would prevent this from, being a reality for a while. I don't know, but that is an ingenious idea and very, very promising. One of the coolest things I've heard in a while, and bravo Toyota for the innovation there, and please bring it to production. I think that would be really cool, and I hope other companies copy that very quickly. And I guess since it's a patent, they got to pay Toyota royalty or something, but that would be amazing. So fingers crossed that comes to reality. Anyway, lastly though, I want to thank all of you that are members of the Matt Moran Motoring Club. So we did have a couple new members that were able to join this week, thanks to the very generous gifting done by Kyle, Truck and Car Guy, and Jordan Yeager on the live stream last week. So thank you so much to all of you for your continued support of the channel. It really means a lot. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm sure those members that not only were able to join for the first time, but all the others were able to rejoin are very appreciative of as well. I also want to give a big welcome here to the new members, the Good Stick and Mears Road Trip. So I hope you're both enjoying all those membership perks so far. I'm looking forward to chatting with both of you more here in this Sunday's live stream if you can make it. And for anyone else who'd like to join, become a member and get all those exclusive member perks, like that priority answering and all the other perks, there's always join buttons here on the video page, on the channel page, and a link in the description. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. And yeah, please leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.